start the Zoom. All right. Okay, here we go.
Well, good day and welcome back to Image Appeals live streaming event. I'm your host, Kenzo Senga, and I'm excited to be here with you today again. Well, to kickstart this meaningful event, let's introduce our speaker. He is a seasoned freelancing graphic designer with over 3 decades, I say 3 decades of experience, and he embraces creativity, innovation in his diverse projects. From design to forming organic products, a testament to the power of passion and creativity in shaping lives. He's eager to inspire and ignite the creative spark in others' resilience. Well, with that being said, hello, Andrew Smith. How are you?
Hey, Kenzo, I'm just dandy, and yourself, man?
Well, I'm
All
good.
is
I'm good.
all is good. How's my fellow South African doing?
Well, I am actually well, and I'm glad to have you today in this wonderful event. And how's your day been?
It's been pretty busy, I'd say. Trying to get everything organized, putting an event like this, thanks to you guys. And extremely grateful for the opportunity to sit here this evening. Or, if you're in another country and it's your daytime, it's evening here. So all good. Thank you once again. And hi, everybody. Hello, everybody out there. I hope that you feel inspired and, we can get something going and ignite a passionate conversation across multicultural dimensions with regards to design. And yeah, let's take it away and see where we go. Let's share
Well,
some ideas.
I'm glad. It's a great experience and honor to have you at our event today. Moving forward to our interview, we have prepared some of the mind-provoking questions that we would love to be empowered with your overview and thoughts regarding designing for multicultural audiences. Well,
Yes.
with that being said, right. Tell me, Andrew Smith, when approaching the design process for multicultural audiences, what factors do you consider to ensure inclusivity and representation?
Well, in Kenzo, I think, as a holistic approach to design, and especially on a multicultural level, there's a few basic ideas that I think most people will resonate with. It's something, that is not often spoken about. It's been kind of left in the dark ages, so to speak. And I think, some of the key factors, to consider in the design process, if we can just, start off with, is just, basic research and understanding. It's all important, especially with dealing with any brand or idea or representation or anything like that. Understanding and research into what you're trying to achieve is all important. We don't want to make assumptions. We want to be able to rely on insight and data to be able to make informed decisions, and with that being said, the diversity that potential teams can bring to their own situation in any sort of work environment, and bring forth multiple perspectives. I think this is the crux of the matter, is to try and bring multiple perspectives into one sort of approach so that we can take our designs and ideas and put them forth into a representative and more kind of inclusive way, if you understand what I'm saying. And we've got to try and avoid the necessary or the unnecessary kind of pitfalls with regards to dealing with multicultural design and the approach to it, avoiding stereotypes, and making sure that we have inclusive imagery and languages, so that we don't generalize and we don't perpetuate harmful biases. we need to be mindful of the visuals perhaps that we use, you know, in an inclusive imagery and language sort of situation, you know, so that we don't sort of favor one representative culture or aspect or microcosm, if I could put it that way. So, you know, having a generalized approach would be kind of naive and stupid, I would say. You know, you have to pinpoint your accuracy, get your accessibility to individuals in the right way, language, proficiencies, and cultural backgrounds. Consider cultural differences in terms of basic things like language. You know, it's something that cross-border disciplines have always battled with, language barriers. So I think, you know, in terms of the design process, you know, a lot of times if you're doing cross culture designs and formulating ideas and stuff, I think you've got to try and keep it as basic and as simple as possible. Once you start off with the simple ideas and you cement those kind of ideas into a formulated idea, then you can start venturing out and branching out into sort of more complex ideas, you know, basic ideas on using cultural symbols and icons and motifs, you know, because sometimes these types of things have an offensive or can be misinterpreted by one culture. They can invoke a specific idea, a specific sense of feeling, a specific sense of isolatedness. You know, we need to try and bring all of these different types of attitudes, you know, and I'm sure the viewers out there, from what I see, you know, just breezing through the list of people that have signed up to watch it, you know, we are looking at a diverse, not only culture, a lot of different languages, a lot of different industries. Everybody has their own ideas on what multiculturalism in design is. You know, and the design process needs to be translated and localized into such a manner that it can reach a broader multicultural audience accurately. And I'll say that again, accurately, because it's vital. We don't want misinterpretations. I'm sure you will agree with me. We don't need misinterpretations. We need to have cultural relevant content, content that is presented obviously in our field in a design sort of environment that is meaningful to the target audience. Culturally specific references should be carefully and most of the time should be explained if necessary, because sometimes if we don't explain certain ways of doing things or certain approaches, people have assumptions. And, you know, I don't need to tell you that assumptions can be extremely detrimental. You'd agree, eh?
True. Well, you talked about misinterpretations, right?
Yeah.
Well, tell me, like, how do you research and familiarize yourself with different cultural backgrounds and traditions when designing for multicultural audiences?
Yeah, you know, there's a lot of ways to do this, and I think let me start off by saying that one of the key principles of trying to engage and you know, capture a diverse cultural background is to use the two things between your brain, and it's called your ears. You know, listen. You know, you actively have to listen to your target audience. you know, they will tell you exactly, you know, what they require, you know, and they'll be able to tell you whether you're on the right track. You know, you have to actively listen to the members of your target culture, you know, and then you can branch off into things like attending cultural events and workshops and talks, you know, similar to what we're having tonight, you know, where we can bounce ideas off each other and interact with individuals, and especially from a cultural point of view, discussions, ask questions, and just be open to learning about the different experiences and perspectives that people have, because within everybody's cultures you have different understanding of values and beliefs that pertain to them. You know, they living their culture, they living their life every day. So at a grassroots level, your audience that you're trying to promote to, let's say now, for example, you're trying to promote a product that is directed at possibly, you know, an Hispanic audience, and you're not quite sure about how to go about it, you know, with regards to what type of language do I use, what type of imagery do I use. You have to engage with the cultural experts in this. And when I mean cultural experts, I'm not talking about the guys that are sitting up in the higher echelons with the ties and suits and that have written thousands of articles on this. I'm talking about plain basic cultural experts, your corner store food vendor who's working in an Hispanic environment. He has an essence and a nuance for all the cultural activities that go on and around him, and he understands the cuisine, and he understands the language, the colloquialisms of his particular environment. So, you know, when I speak about cultural experts, I'm also including these type, because we're not here to marginalize to start off with. Everybody wants to have an expert opinion on things, but no one wants to listen to the little man on the street. So I think that those, definitely, you know, you iterated that, and it's quite important. Understanding the beliefs, and then you can go on to other aspects of trying to analyze the different cultural backgrounds with regards to aesthetics, and you can explore the design elements commonly used in their cultures that you're trying to target. Colors, symbols, patterns, you know, all of these have different associated meanings, and they also have different meanings in a sense that might not be applicable from one culture to the other. Different colors, for example, evoke and symbolize different traditions within a culture. So, you know, when you're looking at that, you can broad out and you can adapt it to localized contexts. You know, tailor your designs to a local context, or even a culture. Collaborate with them, you know, with multicultural teams. And I suppose, you know, for some people that are one-man operation businesses, let's say now you're a small freelance designer, you're a one-man band, it's extremely difficult to compete with the budget-wary people and the top guys like the Coca-Colas of the world. And, you know, these guys have got massive budgets. You know, they can hire cultural experts, linguistic experts. They can collaborate with multicultural teams from different agencies, talk to the locals, do one-on-one interviews with the people to get a feel of exactly how to promote their product and gain different viewpoints. And I think for the smaller guy, you know, just use your common sense and try and stay abreast of cultures if you are going into a multicultural design environment. So you can stay focused and stay updated. You know, culture evolves on a continual basis. So make sure that you're updated with it. Keep up with trends, events, and changes within a cultural society. And, you know, just ensure that your designs are accessible to individuals with different cultural backgrounds, because that's what we're talking about now. We're trying to foster a good collaborative, how can I put it, kind of like route to instruct people to be able to include different cultural backgrounds. Because if we don't do it, we are going to lose vital information from our customers, and you know, we won't be able to promote and keep our designs fresh and expand brand awareness, for example, for all those brand awareness individuals out there that might need to take cognizance of this fact. You know, social listening, keeping your ear to the ground. The social platforms these days are extremely diverse, you know, and the information is accessible all at once. So keep abreast of that. Look and see what the people are doing, and, you know, all important, respect and acknowledge the differences. You know, treat each culture with respect, and avoid appropriation or misrepresenting them in your designs and so on. You know, just remember that designing for multicultural audiences is an ongoing process of learning and refinement. You know, strive for cultural sensitivity, inclusivity, authenticity in your designs. Create, you know, if you use those three factors, you can create meaningful and impactful experiences for your design audience.
That's great. That's great.
If you just be open-minded, you know, and listen. There's a lot of extremely knowledgeable people out there that will give you all sorts of different advice, from low context cultures to high context cultures. But just listen to the people on the ground. They'll tell you exactly, you know, you'll know exactly what to do.
Well, that was powerful. With that being said, I heard you saying something about keeping up with the event, right? So like, can you give me an example of an event or product where you successfully incorporated cultural diversity into design, and how did you enhance the overall experience?
Yeah, that's quite interesting, you know, because we had about four years ago. At that stage, I was still involved with our heavily involved with our local municipality from where you know, in my area. At that time, I was also on the board of the our local tourism board, and we had the idea to. I'm sure everybody is aware of the Rio de Janeiro festivals and the Mars type festivals, which is a huge cultural event. You know, the Brazilian and Rio de Janeiro events, we're talking about the biggest cultural event this planet knows. So what we tried to do it, you know, we're a small community where I am, you know, our population is not that large. We decided to see if we could put a similar festival to showcase local South African talent within our area, you know, and bring the cultural experience out into the open. And we decided to involve I I wouldn't say that it was trying to emulate them, because you could never emulate them in any form or fashion. But basically, we decided the objective was to create the Bella Bella Mars Festival, which in celebration of the Rio Festival. It's a cultural diversity event to promote understanding between different communities and create a sense of unity among the attendees and various and visitors from various cultural backgrounds. And what we did was we had a list that we actually had gotten from the guys in Rio de Janeiro to say, well, what are the main points that we need to bring into this cultural event? And obviously, if you know anything about the Rio de Janeiro festivals, it's all float orientated. People build these massive, lovely floats, and each kind of sector in the culture, the microcosms of this sector and that sector, they all build their own float to depict what they feel represents cultural diversity. And, you know, we had cultural workshops that were organized where attendees could learn about cultural practices like traditional African dance, cooking, heritage. We had cultural ambassadors from various small communities and some larger communities that facilitated with workshops to create, you know, enriching experiences for participants. Plenty food stalls, you know, different African cuisine, and I'm talking more localized for us. You know, I'm not even talking in the broader sense of the entire South African country, so to speak. This was just really part of a smaller microcosm in our local area of roughly about 200 square kilometers. I'm not quite sure in miles what that is for my other colleagues who might not know the kilometers, but roughly about 200 to 300 kilometer radius. And it was a small event, you know, where we could bridge cross-cultural biases, make sure that education and awareness was at the forefront of these, and people adorned themselves with all sorts of cultural clothing, singing cultural songs, dancing. The streets were packed for our little town. The streets were packed, and you know, we had a lot of, we did it around a holiday weekend where a lot of outside people would come in and share their experience and, you know, attend a cultural awareness educational program, so to speak. And it was a memorable experience. You know, the variety of performances and workshops and cuisines left a lasting impression on everybody. And many expressed that the event was not only enjoyable, but it was also educational and enriching. The positive feedback that we got from them was great. Unfortunately, for us, we weren't able to do it again because it cost a lot of money. In conjunction with the Bella Bella Tourism and the Bella Bella Business Chamber and our local municipality, we just couldn't garner enough monies to reinvent it again. But it's still on the cards. I'm sure that somewhere along the line we'll be able to reinvigorate it and get it going. But what it showcased, you know, as a key point is kind of the connectedness that people don't often associate with when we're so busy in our hectic life. We saw people come out of their shells, people that you never really see, which is a good thing.
True.
We saw a lot of diversity and different ideas. Some people had the ideas pinned down to a T. Others lost it a little bit in translation, if you know what I mean. But
I can relate.
yeah, when you're organizing an event of that scale, sometimes it's difficult to get everybody on the same sort of page and get everybody organized. But it was beautiful. It was really a showcase for our town. And as I said, it was unfortunate, or it is unfortunate at this point, that we weren't able to follow up on the following year to be able to do it again, because once you start an advertising campaign, the idea is to maintain the balance and keep the pressure on. Otherwise, you lose the interest, and especially if your marketing and your message is subtle, you need constant reiteration to get that message across. And maybe your campaign is short snippets of information. So yeah, I'm hoping that we're going to do it again, and I'm hoping that they call me on board again, because I'm no longer associated, with the Bella Bella tourism. I'm still closely linked to the business chamber, obviously, because it enforces the business aspect of what I'm doing, and obviously helping my local community with cultural things and design, really.
True. Well, with that event success story being shared, right? Well, can you share with our audience, like, how do you navigate potential challenges or conflicts that may arise when incorporating multicultural perspectives into the event design?
Kenzo,
Can you hear me?
As I said earlier on, simplicity and clarity. If I can start there. Designs that are simple, clean, easy to understand and resonate, with various cultures, to avoid clutter and excessive complexity in a visual messaging. If I could just let's see if I can share a screen here. I just want to show you a cultural diversity print ad. A few of them that just show what I'm talking about, the explicit simplicity of things. Let me just see if I can get a share screen going here.
Take your time.
Yeah, okay, just bear with me for a sec. Okay. How are we doing there? Can you see?
It is visible, and surely our audience can see it too.
Okay, let's just have a wrong one. Let's just move that out the way. Just bear with me for a sec, folks. Okay, here we go. Let's start off with this. This is a great showcase of. Can everybody see it? You see it fine there?
Yes, I see it clearly.
Let me just get it down a little bit. Yeah. This is a great simplistic outlook. This is part of Brand South Africa, trying to showcase. I'm sure most of the world is clued up with our past history and how sport has resonated with trying to bring a cultural diversity back into our existence in South Africa. And this is a great simplistic example of how, without coming out and showing the differences between race and all sorts of other possible gender biased things or things that people could take and construe and misrepresent. We have, you know, a multicolored set of athletes that are represented by our cultural thing. And one fine point that you might notice is in this area here, you will see that this is a gridiron footballer. You see this character here. Now, we don't have gridiron football as a national sport in our country. But I think it was just I think it was just a subtle put in there to say, hey, this is how diverse that we want to be, or we're trying to achieve. So there are soft, subtle messages within branding specifically that you can input in there. And some people would say, yeah, but we don't play gridiron football, for example, or American football as we call it. But I think it just showcases a kind of diversity that we might not even participate in, but we still acknowledge. I think that is simple text, nice bright colors, not really focusing on a specific gender or a specific race or anything like that. So I think, you know, it's one of the nice examples that we've got. If I can also just scroll down here, this is also a fantastic one. If you look at it on the face, you will just see an older Aboriginal guy. This is actually for a Australia.com. And if you, on the face of it, if you look at it, you will just see an Aboriginal with a white young female, and you might just say, okay, great. But I think it's a cultural message on more ways than one. If you look at the punchline, where fresh seafood comes with ancient stories. Now, I think with multiculturalism in mind, ancient stories between cultures is something that makes for great reading, if you understand what I'm saying.
True.
It's a fine balance, so very, very simple as well. I think that is, in essence, really what you need to look at when designing for multicultural industries, is especially in a print ad situation, because you have limited space. You can't add on to the punchline via scrolling video message or anything like that. So you have to curate your messages down to the T, and I think this was done perfectly. You know, food comes with ancient stories. And here you have this Aboriginal gentleman teaching this white young lady about cultural experiences and the multiculturalism behind it and how we can all interlink. So it's also a good thing. You'll notice that all of these tend to resonate with basic themes, and it's important. Here's another prime example done by the Ad Council. Pretty self-explanatory, you know. Very simple, but you know, obviously embracing the diversity, and let's put labels aside in the name of love. So it's very, very simple. Here's another great example by IPG. Also simple. Tagline is great. The best way to get there is together. Also sharing diversity. You know, there's IPG is sometimes on the cutting edge of these types of things. So, you know, simplistic wording, muted. You'll generally find, you know, if I could just scroll back to particularly these ones, there's no outrageous colorings in it. South Africa, well, yeah, we have a diverse, but the colors are muted. we don't have the powerful reds, we don't have the powerful blues, we have slightly muted colors. And it's difficult, you know, obviously, because if you look at our South African flag, it's deep, rich colors. So, you know, colors are soft, gentle, very, very powerful. Here's another one done by Adidas, also for South Africa.
That looks great.
Yeah, Adidas are on the cutting edge of some of the biggest cultural kind of exposés, you know, and I think a lot of your larger companies have to, because they cross borders and they reach a multitude of people. So it's important that we take a lead from these guys. And I'm not saying that these guys always get it right, but yes, you know, it's good example of that. So, you know, if we can take cognizance of the fact that simplicity is all it. Here's another great one where symbolism, icons. This was for Diversity Day by adoptees. Man, it's self-explanatory, very simple. Giving thought-provoking images in a simple form. And generally, when you're designing for multicultural audiences, you will find that generalized symbolism, like the thumbs up that we have for likes and the love signs and all of these things are
and the emojis.
Yes, absolutely. If take the emojis, for example, they represent a huge amount of information in such a small thing, but it's the only way that, yeah, absolutely. But it's the only way that we can really, what's the word, get everybody together without stepping on any toes. You know, is getting symbolism and basic text, soft colors, perhaps. You know, sometimes color can, as I said before, color can evoke a different meaning for, you know, as well as what I do in the Black communities. When it comes to, especially across Africa, we have, you either wear red or black to a funeral.
True.
Okay, so now in a lot of people, when you have red, you know, some of our Black audience might think, gee, well, this is a color that we reserve for funerals. So, you know, you have to have a look at these things, and there's some great information on the internet. You know, all you need to do is just go and have a look and see and Google and search colors and their meanings. You know, the Indian culture is extremely focused on color because their entire existence is based around color. Body parts have a certain color, different chakras within the body pose, and from your top down to your stomach, groin area and going down, each represents a color. So each color represents a meaning and a cultural meaning to the people or the Indian people, you know. So if you Google these things and you check these things out, you'll see what I'm saying, that it's important that you just embrace, especially for the designers out there. You cannot rely on intuition and skill anymore. You have to be multifaceted, and you have to take that approach to say, okay, I am a great designer. I can design anything. You give it to me, I will design it. But I cannot rely on that intuition and skill anymore. We have to broaden our horizons a little bit and say, how do I take my great designs and turn them into impactful, powerful, and precise messages for a global audience? And the way I see it is that if you start off with localized designs and you kind of, what's the word? You kind of like concentrate on localized designs. It's easier to expand outwards into broader macro cultures or environments or neighborhoods or countries and then around the world. So if you can tap in and fine-tune your localized designs, because even on a localized platform, some designers I see just don't have a clue either. You know, they get it wrong. And if you cannot design for your local customers, then you will never be able to design for a wider audience.
True.
Okay.
I can believe.
Yeah. So I think you need to start close at home. Start close at home and see where that leads. Here's another one. This is actually quite strange because I see, excuse me, this is actually for a law firm. Now, you can see very, very reserved, you know, plain, boring, but it does the trick. This image here is all, yeah, am I right?
It does send a message though.
Yes, it does.
By looking at it.
Yeah, it certainly sends a message. It's powerful. And obviously, I think it could have had a little bit more flair to it. But you know what? Lawyers are lawyers. They suit and tie people. You know, I don't mean to dig into the potential guys that are out there that are in formalized industries where suits and ties are order of the day. But, you know, sometimes you guys need to climb out your box, eh?
True.
Okay, so, you know, I just wanted to show you that. And I think one last thing, I just wanted to, I wanted to show you a couple of great videos. Okay, this is for Airbnb, and I think they're on the cutting edge as well. Oops, sorry about that.
No problem.
Let's see if I can get that again. Okay, well, let me, I think that one is still spooling. Let me start with CBs. The brand is CBs. The agency is Accenture Song. It's a UK-based company. This one's quite nice.
Are you sharing it on your screen? Is it?
Yeah, can you see it?
Well, no, I can't say it. You can actually stop it, then reselect it, like reshare it, the same way you shared this one.
Yes, sorry. Okay. Okay. Sorry, all the folks out there. Just yeah, there we go. Okay. Can you see the screen?
Yes, now we can see the screen.
Okay. All right. So let me start it.
Too different from each other. Maybe on different roads. His favourite food's apples, my favourite food's cucumber. Oh. It never stops talking. Oh, no, we're not. What? Adia likes and chips and I like sushi. And they're different.
When it comes to difference, children see things differently. CBBS, everyone's welcome.
Great stuff, eh?
Hey, that was great.
You know, and simple.
I will build a great wall.
And extremely simple. I'm sure that, you know, the budget for that was probably almost next to nothing. So, you know, you don't need to go majorly overboard with your expenditure on that. Here's another great one. It's by the Daily Telegraph. Now, this is a little bit more powerful. You know, they're using text very well and imagery, and lovely one as well.
Let's go through it. Let's see.
Muhammad Ali, eh? Float like a bee.
One of the best.
Yeah. Are you a boxing fan?
Well, partially.
Now, this is a great year.
Oh, this video doesn't have sound. It's just the typography only.
Yeah. Now, if you noticed on that one, they talk about words being chosen carefully. We saw at the end of the video they crossed the one word out, changed it for another one, changed it for another one. I think that is quite powerful in the sense that they understand that they're not getting it right all the time. Okay. And people just need to be aware of that, because sometimes to try and combine all the cultures of the world and please everybody at the same time is an enormous task. And, you know, sometimes the guys don't get it right. And, you know, we talked earlier on about unintentional bias or intentional bias. You know, and sometimes thought-provoking adverts can lead to thought-provoking interaction from clients, or from the audience, I should say, rather. And sometimes agencies don't get it right, you know, so it's important that there is a bit of give and take, and it's a continual building of processes and understanding. And if you notice that I'm choosing a lot, because I find that the kids have the greatest insights into what should or should not be. And here's another great one. Here's another great one that I quite loved.
Let's look at it.
Hi. Welcome. How you guys doing?
Good.
Good. Take a seat.
All right.
We have been working on one of the most incredible toys we've ever made.
Okay.
Are you guys ready?
Yeah.
The wall.
Look at their faces.
Interesting. Can't do anything. Do anything. I agree with him. Why would you just make a wall?
So you don't like the color.
No.
How about you get an idea of what a wall is for? Why do you have a wall?
Like to keep bad guys out of your place?
Yes.
How do you know if someone's a bad guy?
Okay, let's say it's the holidays and you are unwrapping a present, and that present ends up being the wall.
I would still say thank you, and the day after Christmas,
Right.
I would just throw it out.
Right? You know what? Maybe get a chance to build it yourselves. We will actually kind of understand how fun and beneficial it is.
Now, this proves a point on collaborative idea forming.
True.
Sorry.
Now you guys can't have to stay on your side of the wall. But you're having fun on this side though, right?
I guess.
You guys really don't like this wall, do you?
No, I hate it. This wall is breaking apart. I can build something more fun. I'm trying to build a rocket. I'm building a park. Oh, we need more people. You don't like your wall. We don't like your wall. Like, I'm just building this amazing house.
Help build the future, not the walls.
Billions of dollars.
I want a rich one.
Yeah, so there's a lot more that I can show you, but I think if people are interested, if you can see up here, it's called the adforum.com. Can you see it there, Kenzo?
is, I can say, the adforum.com up there.
Yeah, adforum.com. It's a great advertising platform that showcases a multitude of ideas in the advertising world. So, you know, people should take the opportunity to go and have a look there and see what it's all about, because it will showcase some of the best. Some of them, yeah, not too good, but a lot of it is really good. So adforum.com, go there and have a look. I'm sure you'll be impressed with it.
True. So our audience, you heard that right? Adforum.com, right? You head up
Yes.
there. It's another plug for you guys. It's another source for you guys. Note it down. You have something to note down, right? Well, that was mind blowing. With that being said, right? Can you share with me, like, what techniques or strategies do you employ to ensure effective communication and engagement with multicultural audiences during an event?
Are you talking in terms of language barriers, perhaps, or?
Well, in terms of communication, well, the techniques and strategies that you employ in terms of communication and engagement with multicultural audiences.
Okay. All right. You know, basically to overcome language barriers and these types of things. Okay. Well, to start off with, we're in the business of advertising materials. So let's kick off with something like multilingual materials. You know, you need to be able to create materials including signage, for example, if you're at an event, perhaps include signage instructions, communication materials in multiple languages, commonly spoke by your target audience. Now, I suppose if you've got a multicultural event, for example, it's sometimes difficult to have a couple of hundred different variations on a campaign in a different language. So some of the things can be a little bit difficult to achieve. But yeah, you know, as I said again, simplicity and clarity, all important. Colors. Colors have a universal association, as I said. You know, for example, blue is often represented as trust and calmness, while, as I said to you before, red in African culture can symbolize, or should I say in the non-African communities, could represent energy and passion. But on the Black cultural side of things, it might represent death, for example. So, you know, it's important that you have a look at those common areas. Human-centric designs. It sounds like a big word, but all it is just, how can I best describe it? Designs that incorporate images or representations of people engaged in relatable activities. There we go. Or emotions that tend to be universally understood. You know, like I suggested earlier on, thumbs up, heart, the emoji side of things, and what have you. So as we looked at those ideal kind of broadcasting messages on the print ad side and on the video side of it, you know, we're looking at the use of minimal text, because this is also very, very hard as an independent designer to get right, because unless you're speaking a native tongue to the subsection that you're designing to, text involves a lot, and it involves how can I put it, almost well, in terms of powerness, text, the spoken word, the word is mightier than the sword. I think that's what I was trying to come up with. I think that's what I was trying to come up with in my brain there for a sec, but I went into a bit of a freeze brain there. Text is all important. So you've got to keep it concise, and if possible, use widely recognized fonts. You'll see that most of the fonts in the ad prints that I showed you were, your standard Helveticas and so on. It's difficult to try and communicate different fonts to different people. Even the spoken language, different accents come across differently. It's difficult to understand. So you can imagine that text also has a similar visual appeal. So minimal use of text, emphasis on emotion. Emotional elements such as smiling faces can transcend cultural barriers. A smile can evoke a positive response from audiences. As we discussed, familiar symbols, hearts, thumbs, those types of things. Inclusive imagery, but the imagery needs to be pretty looked at from a fine-tooth comb point of view. Simple abstract figures. You don't want to pinpoint any specific race, for example, or specific diversity or whatever. So simple stick figures, abstract kind of things works generally well. You want to stay, gender is a touchy subject because certain cultures, don't display any physical contact between male and female. So, doing a print ad for a multicultural audience where male and female are together might not resonate well in some of the North African countries, where the low context situation come into play, where males have a certain position, females have a certain position, and the juxtaposition of both of these kind of images will stir up, nudity, big thing. You tend to find that your Western Europeans are more liberal to that, whereas your Asians, you don't even want to show your feet.
True.
Serious, it sounds ludicrous, but it's as simple as that. So understanding the basics of who you're trying to portray, and that is where I come back to young designers, where I say, yeah, great, you're all talented, but you cannot rely on your intuition and skill. These broader aspects you need to bring into it, especially if you want to be able to design in multicultural platforms and you want to get it right from the start. Get into this and learn about it, and you will see that it will help you. I'm a very expressive person, so hand gestures and these types of things are important to me to communicate with. But certain cultures, hand communication is not something that you want to do. You want to keep your hands to yourself. You don't want to be waving your left hand around. In certain cultures, the left hand is unclean. And I won't go into detail exactly why, but yes, the left hand is considered as unclean. So positive imagery is also a vital point to take into that. And also cultural neutrality, for example. Avoid design elements that may be specific to one culture and not appropriate or understood or appreciated by a greater cultural appeal. Now, you also got to understand that when you're designing, you've got to understand if you're designing for multicultural localized or multicultural globalized. Yeah, because that will give you an indication on how neutral you can be, because certain elements, certain elements you can get away with designing for localized or even hyper-localized communities, whereas you cannot take those elements and put them into a broader spectrum. And then again, last thing, use appropriate humor if you can, but with absolute caution as well, because you don't want to assume anything. Being from South Africa, we have a multinational global company called Nando's, and I'm sure a lot of people are aware of them and how they appropriate cultural nuances with regards to political voices. Their attitude has always been, we'll do it and we'll worry about the backlash later. But not all companies can do that, because one backlash and your company is sunk. But obviously, this is a multinational that has over 3,500 stores worldwide. But in saying that, they are very culturally aware. I think they probably more, what's the right word? Almost forcing the boundaries of culturalism in the country, because we're new at it. But where they are in Indonesia and the Philippines, where they've got a mass of stores, I think they were a little bit more culturally subtle in their advertising and so on. So using the appropriate humor, understanding the local colloquialisms and word constructs and things like that can be beneficial, but use it sparingly and make sure that you just know and you've got it pinpointed. And lastly, just testing, man. Social media have got it waxed, and I think it's easier on the social media side. You've got a thing like what is it called? A/B testing.
True.
Where you have certain ads, you make variations of 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 ads, you punt them out, and you see what kind of feedback you're getting and so on. Sometimes a little bit more difficult in standard production print or television. You got to get it right one time. Coca-Cola can only spend $200,000-400,000 on a worldwide campaign at once. If they don't get it right, you can imagine
it's out the window.
So I think, just to sum up that question, some of the major points that you've got to look is, I always go back to simplicity and clarity. Kenzo, you can't go wrong with it. And I understand that, every creative designer wants to have this extremely flashy and it's difficult to design simplistically. Because as a designer, you need to use your full array of tools on your desktop. Flashy this, bubble that, highlighted, all sorts. Sometimes it doesn't work. Sometimes it doesn't work.
Well, with that being said, right, how do you strike a balance between cultural authenticity and creating an inclusive atmosphere that is welcoming to all audience?
Cultural considerations, probably. Being mindful of cultural nuances when translating or communicating with diverse audiences. Certain words and phrases, as I said, have different connotations. And, you need to understand that and use it as sparingly as possible. Once you understand the basics of it, I think the other major principles that you would come across will kind of sort themselves out, and just make sure that if you're a design agency, for example, and you're trying to break into multiculturalism. You need to be able to employ a strategy whereby you can encompass all your people within your company. You might not know it, that you might have the higher echelons in the company might not know that they have a fully fluent Portuguese graphic designer in their ranks, and they're doing a major campaign for a Mediterranean outlook, and Portuguese just happens to be the localized target, and they're spending budgets and what have you. They could have just asked their little junior designer, is this the correct spelling? So I think an all-inclusive from top to bottom, not only in your approach to the designs itself, but I think to encompass the entire multiculturalism aspect needs to come from the top as well. Your senior upper echelon managers and owners and what have you, they need to understand that. Managers, middle, lower, and however broad your company is also need to understand that, and get everybody on board. Everybody that is sitting around the decision table should be in a position to give valuable information. And if it is not utilized, you're going to be wasting money on hiring a translator to be able to give you the right information. So, that's also a valid point in trying to group everybody together and making sure that it's all inclusive, if you understand.
True. I get your point. Well, Andrew Smith, with that being said, can you share any specific design elements or approaches that have proven to be universal, appealing, and understood by diverse cultural backgrounds?
Yeah, Kenza, that's pretty simple. Well, it's simple to me. It's, once again, simplistic. And to just narrow that down a little bit, we got to look at smaller entities in the design process, universal symbols, clear and concise language. Visual communication is probably one of the most powerfully accepted forms of grouping people together that don't understand anything. You can have a visual representation of a couple of people on a video screen, and one is smiling and one is frowning, and everybody across the globe will know exactly what is being depicted here. One individual is happy, one individual is unhappy. So, clear universal symbols and imagery and those kinds of things, concise language, visual communications, as I said, is important. And if you can't get to real life visual images, then you've got to incorporate fun and informative infographics to supplement written instruction, for example. And this is where your UX designers and those types of people, they'll have a better understanding of the user interface between themselves behind the PC and the other person on the other end, clicking and going through websites and so on. So, to transcend those barriers, infographics to supplement written instruction will always help to clarify your visual communications. And then, of course, audio instructions. How many websites do we come across these days that are able to, have different audio instructions in different languages? You'll see a lot of them have icons where you can switch languages, and even those are few and far between. because it costs money. Now you have to design 3 or 4 or 5 front ends. As it is, we've got to optimize our websites for desktop, PC, tablets, cell phones, Kindles, so there's a multitude of things already to be done. So it's extremely difficult. And I think when you are looking for something to focus on, people will naturally tend, and I see this with, I don't want to point out specifically to any particular platform, but in a lot of bios, you have a lot of people that have got a multitude of arrangements, and they can do this and this and this and this and this and this and this. We're becoming so inundated with information and visuals and what have you. And I understand why people, they want to try and garnish as much of the market as possible so that they can actually do business. But I think it's coming to a point now where hyper-localization for design in multicultural is going to be explicitly important. And on the design side, guys that will specialize, and I would go as far as to say that I would like to think that I'm going to be starting a trend by saying that I am a diversity designer. I'm not a graphic designer. Yes, that's what my repertoire is, but maybe people would consider me as a diversity designer, narrow down, specialize in a specific market. So, if we look at clear and concise languages, audio instructions, keep tabs on cultural considerations, make sure, if you're at an event, for example, that you have bilingual staff and interpreters to bring it all together. There's a huge amount of things that could possibly, what I've done is, before I carry on, I've sent you a list, the one that I sent you with regards to. I'd like to give this out to everybody. Okay.
Most definitely.
I'm not sure how you can do that, but it's basically a short list, and I'm not saying that it's all inclusive. Funny enough, we're talking about all inclusivity. But there's other factors. But at least this will give a lot of guys that might be listening tonight that want to gain a little bit of knowledge, a starting point to be saying, okay, fine. Yeah, I have to consider this. Or I'm not specifically in that direction. So maybe I don't need to spend too much money on an interpreter because I am Portuguese and I'm going to be designing for a Portuguese community. So I've pretty much got that waxed, but I might need help on a different level. So, I'd like to share that document with the people and give it out for them. They can use it ad lib, try not to change it, add to it if you must. And if you do add to it, please, by all means, I'd love to see it and, expand it and build on it.
Most definitely you'll be giving it out, and to any listeners out there, audiences out there, for you to get this coverage of what we're talking about of designing for multicultural audiences in a PDF form, contact us, go to our website, imageapple.com, and most definitely comment down, and our social media personnel will get back to you. Right. With that being said, Andrew Smith, tell me, have you ever encountered any situation where cultural sensitivities or taboos impacted the event design? If so, how did you handle it?
Yeah, I've had a few experiences. Wow, yeah. You put me on the spot there a little bit. If I can start off with, actually, it might not be so much a cultural faux pas, let me put it that way, but it might have been me maybe being a little bit arrogant. But not so long ago, in fact, a month ago, I was doing some work for a local company. A good friend of mine, he owns a diesel filling station, and he's got a lot of local Black community leaders that support him with small businesses, and he also tries to build up the community that side. And he had an employee that left them and decided to go on his own, and he wanted to open up a small eating house, kind of like a small restaurant, serving local Kasi food. Now, for people who don't know what Kasi food is, it's a colloquialism term for an informal settlement. Am I right, Kenzo?
True.
Yeah, an informal settlement that obviously has a diverse culture, and this guy wanted to go on his own and start. And Black South African young gentleman, and he said to me that he wanted me to design something for his eatery. The only brief he gave me was, I want it to be local and South African. Okay.
True.
Designing for the Black man, a young entrepreneur in the Kasi. What is the designer going to do? He's going to go for an ethnic, cultural type background. No. He wanted me to come up with a vibrant red, blue, yellow signage. And to top it all off, the name of his eatery is called the Malboer.
The Malboer.
Yeah, the Malboer. It's a Afrikaans term. For those who don't know, Afrikaans is one of our second languages. It's an Afrikaans term that refers to someone as being a mad farmer. Okay, so if you're in the farming industry, somebody would call you a Malboer. So anyway, he wanted to have this design done. Now, at that time, I didn't know it, but wow, was I shocked, because I almost put my foot in it. And we're just talking about designing for multicultural multicultural audiences. Now, you would think, him being a Black South African, and I was designing for him specifically, that I would have to go ethnically orientated. No, this was a Western kind of look and feel. So I almost put my foot in it, where that cultural difference between two races, we just almost passed each other on that level. So I think and then I've had instances where we've put small motifs of owls and things like that. I recall a long time ago when I first started, we were doing a book club for a predominantly book club orientated people. Most cultures and countries would assume that the owl was a symbol of wisdom and so on, but in his culture, it's an evil thing. So we blew it. We had to take a full 260-degree turn and change the logo from an owl to something else. So yeah,
I can relate.
It happens. It happens, But obviously, we would want to try and I try and console myself with the fact that this was many, many, many years ago, when I was still in my mid-20s doing design. So give myself some credit. I know a little bit better now. at least.
I'm glad. I'm
But
glad.
yeah, that's just some of the few fancy highlighted moments. And, I've had a few others where guys have said to me, please design me this. And I say, great, we'll do this and we'll do that. And then they say, no, I want you to take this rusty old piece of steel and I want you to put my logo on that. He's looking for a new feel, but he wants me to put it on this rusty old thing. As a designer, you've got to make it work. And obviously those who know me know that my background is also in signage fabrication and those types of things. So I'm not just a keyboard jockey sitting behind and designing. I'm a full operated from conceptualize to out. I can build you your signs from 1 meter by 1 meter to 10, 15 meter wide billboards. I have those skills.
Nice.
When he said to me, make me the sign, design it, I thought, okay, great, here's an opportunity. But yeah, funny little incidents like that. But it's a learning curve. It's a learning curve.
And memories made.
Hey,
Well,
I tell you, memories made. Yeah.
Well, with that being said, what steps do you take to involve multicultural communities or representatives in the design process to ensure their perspectives are heard and respected?
Your metrics, Kenzo.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that. Now the metrics can come in any form or fashion. These days we have so many apps that can do metrics. But I think, especially on this subject, we can't only rely on apps to give us metrics. We need to get out there on the ground. We need to go into our local communities, understand what they are all about at grassroots level, like we used to do in the olden days. Back in the day, we had print ads, we sent out surveys by a notice, get to stand outside buildings and hand out polling forms and stuff like that. Now we've come a long way from that. So there's no excuse as to how people are going to get this information. If you don't get it, well, then you're just, I don't mean to sound crass or anything, but you're just a lazy bum graphic designer. You've got to get out there and get this. But, a combination of qualitative and quantitative metrics. Now, by that, I mean quantitative research would probably is the process of collecting and analyzing numerical data. Sorry. Let me just have a sip of water. My tongue is getting a little bit twisted.
Go ahead.
Let me just repeat that. Quantitative research is the process by which you collect and analyze numerical data. And on the opposing side, you have qualitative research, which involves collecting and analyzing non-numeric data like text, video, audio, and those types of things. Once you have a look at metrics, you can have a look at that. And this is probably where your online specialists and all the apps that are out there. I'm battling to keep up with all the apps these days. But attendance and diversity metrics, to be able to measure the total number of attendees and the diversity of your audience in terms of their cultural backgrounds, ethnicities and nationalities. So you want attendance and diversity metrics. And obviously the old classic feedback surveys. Now, these feedback surveys are easy to conduct online and so on, where you conduct post-event surveys and things like that. The old traditional ways can still be utilized with a laptop or a small tablet at, for example, events to calculate, a simple thing like going up to somebody, how did you find this multicultural audience? Did you like it? Yes or no? Click yes, no, thank you very much. Enjoy your evening. So, feedback surveys are important. Cultural sensitivity ratings in any form, however you want to use that term, to rate your event or your campaign or whatever. Now, that's one thing that, for example, Meta, if you're going to AdWords and Google Ads and all of these types of things, they're trying, to incorporate these finer details, of cultural sensitive ratings and diversity metrics and all sorts. It's still going to be a long way before we have a fully graded something that could incorporate this. So some of this stuff is still going to have to be done hands-on. So, good engagement levels to monitor your audience engagement during the events and participation in workshops and, interactive exhibits and discussions. High engagement, obviously, what does it tell you? Everything is sharp, everybody's enjoying it, and everybody's having a good time and they're responding well to the event. Media coverages, media coverages and reviews. More of this should be done, where different ideas, because honestly, I don't know everything, and I'm more than adequate at saying that. But what I do know is that for my knowledge to broaden and for your knowledge and our viewers' knowledge to broaden is we need to expand on this. And this can lead to other things. Over and above talking about social issues, we can talk about design elements. When I started out designing, man, Coral Draw 1, operating on Windows 3, then I upgraded to Windows 3.1. There was none of this, there was none of this information out there to be able to help and and garnish knowledge. Even our manuals, there were no manuals. I got my Coral Draw discs, boom. That little social save icon that most people that was how my Coral Draw came on those discs. That was wrapped in a plastic, in a box with a Coral Draw on it, and that's it. I had to go and subsequently buy the manual separately. Information is out there, people. You need to get to it and utilize it. There's no excuse there.
True. I can relate.
There's also a lot more to that, but I think people can peruse through it on the document, like community feedback and participating stories and testimonials and what impact on cultural understanding is and so on. So, I think we can assume that people will read my stuff, I'm hoping.
Most definitely they will. Well, can you provide an insight into any emerging trends or innovative approaches in designing for multicultural audiences?
Yeah. Where do I start? Cultural co-creation. Let me put it that way. It's just something I thought up. Designers are increasingly involved in being represented from diverse cultural backgrounds in the design process. So this approach, known as co-creation, ensures that the final design is more currently relevant and resonates with your target audience. And this is also similar to what I was speaking about early on, where you bring in your current designers that are on your team. Co-creation, get that co-creation happening, because you will find that insightful information can be gleaned from the smallest and the most insignificant. You noticed that on the videos that I showed you for CBs with the kids, man, the knowledge is just so clear
and simple.
The knowledge, it's simple, it's so clear, and yet us as adults, man, we think we're the be all and end all and know everything.
True.
AI, I was having a chat with Sunil early on, and we were talking about the role of AI that's playing in your business. Virtual and augmented reality experiences. These virtual and reality technologies are being used to create, immersive experiences and bridge cultural gaps and allow users to explore different cultures and traditions. There's interactive videos and 3D videos out there where you can immerse yourself in a native kraal back in the early days in South Africa's heritage and get the feel and immerse yourself in the feelings that were happening at the time. So, these emerging trends, they're not fully fledged in one. I don't think any particular, how can I put it, industry, let me put it this way, any particular industry has fully embraced or called these technologies their own. It's available to everybody. So, augmented reality experiences, then obviously embracing global aesthetics, take cognizance of the fact that various cultures have different arts and patterns and colors to create visual and compelling inclusive designs, inclusive typography. We've got specialist topographers that are really, really talented guys and gals out there that are literally creating cultural typefaces. The curves and the uprights and the serifs and everything that is related to basic font formation, they're adjusting because of cultural trends. So, and cultural storytelling. We come from a rich background in Africa where cultural storytelling is vital. So it's important, and multilingual interfaces. If you're having an event, make sure that you've got multilingual interfaces, for easy, user-friendly for speakers of various languages. These technologies are out there, utilize them. Cross-culture branding. Brands are adopting culturally sensitive branding strategies that resonate with diverse audiences without diluting their identity. So it can be done because brands don't want to lose their identity, but they want to resonate with customers. Now, who does Nike go to when they want to advertise something? Or Adidas or Coca-Cola? They go and listen to their customers. they're people that are drinking and wearing these apparel. You know, it's important. So I think these trends, they're increasing in importance for designers and for designing as a whole. You know, as technology and society continue to evolve, I think designers are likely to explore even more innovative approaches to cater for multicultural audiences effectively. You know, to stay up to date with the latest trends is essential, and continue researching, learning, and collaborating with experts from different cultural backgrounds.
True, true. Well, with that being said, right, can you tell me, like, how do you approach budget constraints while still prioritizing inclusivity and cultural diversity in design?
Yeah, it's always a big one, that one, eh? When it comes down to the mullah,
True.
eh? When it comes down to the cash, yeah, this is a big concern, but I think it's achievable on all platforms. I think each idea that I've got in my head right now can be utilized on a small scale and a big scale, but in varying degrees. So, you know, I think to start off with, in essence, start off by focusing on core values. You know, identify the core value of inclusivity and cultural diversity that are essential for your design, you know, because as I said early on, brands don't want to affect their brand, but they also want to be socially responsible and culturally cutting edge. But it's a fine line, you know, but you still have to focus on your core values, you know, such as translation services and visual multicultural event programming and stuff like that. Stick with focus on the core values, you know, and of course, we all know, and I'm sure everybody has tried and tested this, leverage open source resources.
Yeah.
Right?
True.
Yeah, and you know, funny enough, not a lot of designers are leveraging it enough, especially freelance designers. It might be a little bit different in design agencies because they have the bucks to be able to afford the latest tech and so on and so on. Obviously in varying degrees depending on how big they are.
Yeah.
But in our environment, the Ogilvy and Mathers and all of these types of people, they have budgets and their clients pay big bucks. So they have the ability to do that. You know, another friendly strategy to achieve it is collaborate with cultural organizations. And this can be done at a localized level and for a small designer. Get out there, go to the community hall, speak to the community leaders. You know, they'll be more than willing to contribute because their first goal is to get their culture out there and make sure that it's branded correctly. So most of the time, they're not even going to charge you, you know, use them, you know, volunteers and interns that are looking to get started in the game, perhaps, you know, consider volunteers. Pick your volunteers from your cultural audience that you're trying to attach your product or your brand or your business or your name or your identity or anything to. Pick them from the local communities, bring them in. They're the ones that are staying on the neighborhood streets. They understand their neighbor. They can help.
True.
They will even be able to speak the language. You know, DIY and local talent, you know. For us, me, myself, and I've got to do everything. I'm the bookkeeper. I'm the designer. I'm the emailer. I'm everything. So, you know, try and utilize your DIY and local talent, utilize your in-house design capability, basically, you know, and use what you've got to the best of your ability. Digital, social media, wow. I'm not even going to go any further than that. It speaks for itself.
True. Use
it.
It's another powerful tool.
Yes, very. So I don't think I'm going to go into any in-depth on that. Use it. If you don't know what social media is, folks, go and Google it. You know, just yeah.
Well,
sponsorship, grants. You know, this might also work hand in hand with collaborating with cultural organizations, because most of sponsorships and grants might and will and probably will be best utilized from those guys, you know, from the cultural organizations. They want their message out there. So seek the sponsorship for your project. And I think it could be a good leverage tool, you know, to get into a design industry. You know, I see a lot of young designers on some of the platforms that I'm on, and we talk and they check my profile out and they say, well, hey, Andrew, how can you help me? So, you know, and I'm saying, well, you know what, they testing this freelance thing, and some of them aren't cutting it. They need to find a job now. But I think if they utilize their, and this goes back to not relying on intuition and skill, have a broad-based outlook on these things, they could say, okay, how can I leverage this thing? Let me go and look for a sponsor to create an ad for a cultural organization that needs exposure. There's a tip right off the bat for a young designer.
For free.
I'll send you my bill later. But, you know, and it's... sorry, man. It's this type of out-the-box thinking that a lot of them are not aware of. Why it is, I honestly can't tell you, Kenzo. Maybe it's because back in my day when we started graphic design, we were passionate. And I'm not saying that guys are passionate or not passionate now, but we had to work for our stuff. You know, when I did my finals, it wasn't just pop your portfolio on Beyonce or create it in Canva or what have you. Our portfolio, literally letraset, Pantone markers, canvas pads, draw it, build it by hand, present your portfolio. So I don't think, you know, and I've had a few interesting discussions with people about the transition in multimedia and how it's influencing people's ability to really, and I mean this with all sincerity, genuinely think out the box and be able to collaborate. I see designers, great designers, boom, all designed well and what have you, but we were taught when we place a number in a circle and it's got a serif on it, we need to move it 1 mil to the right so that visually it's in the center of the circle. Now it's just click, drag, center, boom, 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 boom. And immediately I can see whether a design artist has had some serious clinical background in design, balance, contrast, spatial awareness, these types of things. I can see it straight away. Now, I'm not saying it's a bad thing, because theoretically, the number 1 is centered in the circle, by all means. But to me, it's not, because the eyes are the truth. This is what we learn in signage design. You can have all the levels and spirit levels to make a sign straight, but if it is not visually straight, I'm afraid
It's
you've
not
lost
straight.
it. Yeah. Just to get back, if people, creatives, think about using that kind of technique to gather sponsorship and so on. And then, of course, repurpose and reuse existing artwork. I'm sure you guys do it.
True.
I've done it. And I'm sure countless people have done it. Use it to your ability. Refresh it, change it, blah, blah, blah. It's easy. Cost effective. For one-man bands, use print-on-demand services. This is another suggestion I can think of. We were talking about it, Sunil and myself. I don't know whether you were in the conversation early on about. I won't get into too much detail because that's private information. But it's on how to expand business and what we need to do between the two of us as partners, for example, or what have you. But print-on design and all of these types of things can help you limit your cost, because Gary Vaynerchuk has and I'm sure you know who Gary Vaynerchuk is, V Enterprises and so on. He's got a great idea on this. He says you have to be able to sit down and calculate what your expenses are on a project. If your time does not equate, or if your time is more than that, and you can budget it out to somebody else to do the job for you, and you can take your expertise and time and put them on another project or so, you're better off for it. So use print-on-demand services, use the availability of these types of things out there to enhance and enable you to be able to get your message for multicultural design out there. Use user-generated content, encourage content that reflects the diversity of perspectives. This will help build communities and engagement and reduce the necessity to create content from scratch. So that kind of also falls in with repurpose and reuse, options. But it's kind of different. But you get what I mean on that. And then, of course, every good plan is about to fail. So make sure that you have a couple of extra plans up. Flexibility in your planning is all important. And I think if you look at what I've discussed now and adopt these types of strategies, it is possible to create these cultural diverse designs even on a budget. Prioritize, as a key point to finalize that, prioritize the core values and look to collaborate. And that collaboration can mean a multitude of the ones that I was discussing, with expert leaders, sponsorship and grants, print on demand. That holistic approach, collaborate. Opportunities will always lead to impactful results, while making the most of your resources,
Well, with that being said, before we open it up to the audiences and hear out their questions, we'll be hitting the last question from our side, and for them to prepare their questions in the question box below. Well, this last question goes like, what advice would you give to event organizers who are looking to create inclusive and cultural diverse experience to their attendees? Sorry.
Are you talking it from the point of an event organizer?
Okay. Since also they need to cover the multicultural ground.
Yes. Let's take you guys for example. As a prime example. You doing this already? A diverse planning team. if you assemble a diverse planning team, you'll ensure that your cultural perspectives are considered in the event. You know, for example, this will certainly avoid unintentional biases and promote togetherness and inclusivity, you know. And then, of course, once again, this is a recurring suggestion, is engage with cultural people, you know, the experts. And once again, I'll just say that the experts are not necessarily the guys that have written the theses and all of these types of things. Your experts are your people on the ground, you know. You know as well as what I do that thorough research is important. So for event organizers, you know, research your audience, see what demographics are within your structure. I see we've got a lovely gathering tonight. Over 1,000 people subscribed. You have the figure on hand? Tell me, come on, tell me, what's it?
Well, from my end, currently I can't literally like say it, but then most definitely I will leave it down in the comments.
Okay, all right, yeah. But I have a sneaky suspicion that we did well, you know, so
like
engage.
Like always, eh?
Hey, well done, well done. You know,
always.
And I hope that I've lent some sort of credibility, image appeal brand, and you know, but research your audience, you know, and make sure that your audience that you're proposing to are the right ones, you know. Culturally inclusive marketing is, you know, your materials are going to reflect your diversity. So as event organizers, you need to consider the accessibility for attendees. And you know what, I must just say that when we talk about, and I mentioned, I forgot to mention it early on, and I wanted to, you know, with the diversity that we're talking about, let's talk about it as diversity, and not so much as a multicultural diversity, but the diversity that people also need to be aware of. And this particular segment also feels extremely marginalized, left out, misunderstood, is your diversity in disabilities. You know, your elderly, your disabled. Now, I'm not 100% sure. I don't want to step on any toes, but I don't know what the culturally accepted term is for calling somebody disabled. You know, please forgive me if it is wrong. I don't mean it in any bad respect, but I think there is a different term. They don't like to be called disabled.
I think it is. I think it's called differently abled.
Okay, all right.
Yes.
So forgive me for that, but you know, these things need to be looked at as well in your diversity, because there are a lot of older people, and this also, let me just say, when you're designing for multicultural and older people, you've got to understand that this demographic is, you know, there was a consensus done and a bit of investigation into it, and they gave a whole lot of older people different icons and pictures and so on, and said, well, which ones kind of like resonate with you? And the funny thing is that most of them, because of the age of the brain and the decrease in eyesight, you know, a lot of them are becoming visually impaired and what have you. Visuals are all important to them. So if you're designing for a Hispanic cultural community center, you need to adjust your designs for that, because you know that your audience is Hispanic, number one. Plus, it's a cultural center for the elderly, so they're all old. So,
True.
you know, use your common sense. So I think all inclusive materials in that respect is vital. And obviously, feedback and once again, feedback and post-event assessments, you know, collect feedback from your attendees. Make sure that you personally as Image Appeal, create something that will be able to get structure and information back from your listeners to see, hey, yeah, that was great. Or, yeah, here's another point we could touch on, you know, and as I said, that's also pretty a valuable point. And then partnership with cultural organizations, because I feel that you guys as Image Appeal is going to be making waves in this sector, you know.
Globally.
And yeah, I feel that, and I see it. I just get the big sense that it could be a great launching platform for you guys. And as a collective group, I understand that you guys have a huge diversity across the globe. So in terms of designers and everything, you know, so have a look at that, you know, get your cultural organizations into partnerships, even if it means that you have to give out a bit of free branding to them, for example. Get them on board. It will help you tremendously. So, you know, that's another tip for event organizers and so on. And then once again, always be adaptable. You know, you saw the Muhammad Ali video.
Yeah, I did earlier on.
Yeah, float like a bee, float like a butterfly, sting like a bee.
And sting like a bee.
Yeah,
Wow.
you've got to be able to adapt and plan in real time, of course, and sometimes maybe not even in time, but as quickly as possible. You know, designing for multicultural audiences requires intention. You know, if I can sum it up, intention, research, collaboration, and by prioritizing cultural sensitivity and inclusivity and continuous learning, you know, event organizers will be able to create memorable, meaningful experiences that definitely will resonate with communities from disability right the way through to kids, multicultural, different ethnic groups, colors, races. Everybody will understand your vision and so on. And collaborative opportunities can lead to impactful results, you know, and make most of your resources, bud. Bottom line, make most of your resources. You know, we briefly touched on that and spoke on a few points in depth about budget constraints. Use your platform and use your available resources, you know. And I think, just to reiterate again on advice, intention, research, collaboration.
Well, Image Appeal family, is that time of the day where now we open the window for you guys to ask questions. Well, without waste of time, we have a question from Paul. And basically, Paul, what he asks is, how can designers strike a balance between cultural representations and avoid stereotypes in their design?
Yeah. Hi, Paul. How are you? Wherever you are, I hope you're having a wonderful day. Thank you for the question. Stereotyping is an extreme pitfall that many a designer and many design agencies have fallen into in the past. Now, earlier on, I spoke about cultural humor and stereotyping. The only way that you can effectively minimize the damage and make sure that it is accessible is to either be so in tuned and be hyper focused on a specific area. Once you hyper focus on a specific area, you will eliminate these stereotypes, because stereotypes in itself can be great. You know, there's nothing wrong with us laughing at our own inabilities and our own flaws and what have you. But sometimes us, from a different perspective, will get somebody else's stereotyping incorrect. And sometimes it's people don't take it lightly, and I'm going to use it straightforward. Me stereotyping you as a black man, and me or you stereotyping me as a white man. We are friends, so we could probably get the humor, and you know, we will understand it.
True.
But when with audiences that you don't know, it's going to be extremely tough, Paul. So I think, you know, you have to do the research, you know, and stereotyping is probably, I would say, Paul, stay away from it, you know, unless you're extremely confident that you can get it right. If you're not confident that you can get it right, and the only way to get it right is through the research, excuse me, and that might be costing you money. And sometimes developing an advert, the costs to get this specific advert or campaign out might not justify going into so much in depth. So in my opinion, Paul, you know, try and stay away from it. But you know what? Use it, but use it wisely. And subtly, so that it becomes universal, because that's what we're trying to avoid. Stereotyping is putting people into a box. So if you're looking to expand that box into a multicultural design aspect, there is no place for assumption, number one, and stereotyping. So I hope that answered your question, Paul.
Well, I hope, Paul, that came out more powerful, and I hope we answered your question. Well, jumping on to the next person, it is coming from Steve, and he is saying, can you suggest any effective platform or tool that designers can use to gather information and insights about different cultural demographics?
Yes, sorry, the gentleman's name, Steve, eh? Steve.
Yeah, Steve, it's Steve.
Okay. Steve, I think it really depends on what type of information you're looking for, Steve. You could go and look at a broadband platform like Statista, for example, which could give you demographic results. You know, if you're looking into a specific market, for example, and you're wanting to know, let's take, for example, how many graphic designers are in the US, how many of them are dedicated to print media, how many of them are engaged in social media activities, how many are there of them that are UX and IX designers, and then others. So if you're looking for that kind of broader thing, then you go to any one of your really, really decent websites like Statista that can generate these types of information. Yes, true, some of them are too globalized. Okay, so that's why I mentioned, depending on what you're looking for. If you're a freelance designer, because I'm not, Steve didn't mention where he's from or what his occupation is. Did he say? Kenzo?
No, yeah, no, well, it didn't state anything. It just actually
Oh,
like
okay.
asked the question straightforward.
Okay,
Yeah.
so let's assume that you're a graphic designer or a freelance graphic designer. You would have to go locally, you know, speak to your local councils, your local municipalities. Most of these places would generally have, you know, people that are culturally aware, different languages can be spoken and so on. So I think there you would probably find the kind of information gathering that you're looking for. So certain platforms and certain ways of achieving your data is all important, you know, because a global company might use global statistics. Plus, you know, Coca-Cola can, for example, out of their branch wherever, phone up South Africa's headquarters down in Joburg and get localized stats for their Coca-Cola sales, right down to 2-liter bottles with a specific branding on it. Let's say now it was for World Cup soccer branding, and even further down onto how many bottles of 2-liter Coke were sold in a specific area with the Italian logo. You know, each at the world events, each team had their branding put on the bottle. So these guys can afford to get these kind of localized information and data. So I think start off with the basics, Steve. Talk to people in the trade. Go out, open up your Rolodex, flip through your phone, I should say, because that's more appropriate. Flip through your phone, see if you've got any other design agencies on your books, friends. Maybe they've got somebody else that's in a different field that you can glean some information off. So, you know, it's a searching process. There's not one specific tailor-made process that is going, because what we're discussing here is extremely cutting edge, even though this type of information has already been started in the mid-60s, believe it or not. But the appropriation of this material has never been brought to the fore, you know, due to exactly what we are talking about, the biases against designers in a multicultural environment. All we want to do is design. That's all we want to do.
Design. Well, jumping on to the jumping on. You were saying?
No, I was just saying, so Steve, just go ahead, mate, and really, really dig into it. Take the information that I've given you and just have a look at Googling some of the terms and words. Some of them might not come up, some of them will. But, you know, if you really and truly want to get involved, then get with it on the basics. You'll learn so much about it.
That's great. Well, thank you, Steve, for the question. Jumping on to our next person. It's a lady this time. It's Mary, and well,
Mary, hi, Mary. How are you?
Well, a question goes like, how do you ensure that the designs are culturally sensitive and respectful?
Okay. Listen to the people that you're designing for. You know, if you are designing an advert for a Asian street vendor who's got a fuyong omelet and he's the best at making it and he wants to promote it, listen to him. You know, understand what he has to say and try and gather the information, because he will know the people that he's trying to sell to. He will be able to say, okay, fine. And then after that, you can come up with it and lend your expertise. And this resorts back to what I said, designers cannot rely on their skill and intuition anymore. You know, you have to start looking at these broader based questions to be able to design inclusively. Now, I don't feel it's an extremely difficult thing to achieve. Most of us, or if you really sit down and think about it, most of us are already acting in a multicultural, multi-diverse situation. Mary, as soon as you flip your phone open and you're on your Instagram profile and you're sending out your information, it is touching the ears of a huge amount of different cultures, people, diversities, understandings, beliefs, cultures, and everything. So you're already doing it. Now you just have to understand that you're doing it. So Mary, you're already there. You know, you're one step there. You know, you might not have had the ability to look at it that way. And I'm hoping that the question that I'm answering is giving you that moment, you know, that light bulb moment that, yeah, you know, Andrew is quite right. I'm already doing it. But now how do I enhance that? And you enhance that through what I've been discussing. Culturally sensitive approach. Look at language. Look at coloring, you know, the basics, you know, use your design skills. I'm assuming you're also a designer, but these ideas are applicable across, because I see that, you know, we have designers in the furniture industry, and, you know, they might not be into print ads, but they might be having their own print ads to give out for a specific piece of furniture that they're trying to advertise for. So nevertheless, just look at the basics, look at the inclusivity, and think how you would feel if somebody brought this product to you. What are the basics and the core essentials that you need to bring to the fore and make sure that your design gets out in the right format, with the right tone? You know, the social butterflies out there will tell you when you're learning social media, how is your social tone? What is your social listening skills? And we're not talking primarily with using these, but in terms of social. Okay, so use the skills that are available to you. You have them. Everybody that is in the design field will have some sort of creative flair. Bring that to the forth, and I hope that giving you the insight, you know, you'll be able to embrace it and do it better for yourself, Mary.
Well, Mary, I hope you are answered fully, and for now we'll actually jump on the last question. Looking at the time, let us take someone different now. Here's a question from user 664145. Okay, it doesn't have a name, it's a number this time.
What is it?
664
yeah
145.
145. Okay, because I don't think I can remember that. I've got a short-term memory. Hi there, user 664145. How are you doing? Shoot.
Hopefully they're hearing you well.
I'm sure they are.
Well, the questions. I don't know if it's a he or she, by the way. Okay. I don't even know what to say. Well, okay. It goes like, are there any specific color palettes, symbols, or imagery that designers can use to effectively communicate with multicultural audiences?
Yes, as a matter of fact, user 664145. If you just Google, let's say now, for example, and I've done this, so it is accessible. Let's say now you want a color palette for for designing multicultural adverts for an Indian community. Now, the reason why I chose the Indian community is that they have an extremely rich heritage in color. You know, you just need to see the symbolisms and the images. You know, they even have a color festival where they have all of this colored dye, and they throw it all about and what have you. So just go on to Google, user 664145. Go on to Google and search for these color palettes. Let's have a look at a term like Indian colors used in Indian culture, and guaranteed you'll come out with a whole range of different colors for specifics. And then you can broaden your outlook in terms of different color palettes, because different color palettes would definitely and do represent different outlooks in different cultures. You know, the Japanese will tend to have different colors as there, and if you look at a lot of their cultural material, some of it is a lot of vibrancy, but it's specifically isolated with different meanings. Hence, if you're in karate, you have different colored belts and so on. So the imagery and the understanding of how color, for example, relates to this is right in front of you. You know, people need to think out of the box and say, hey, why do people use different color belts, for example? Or why are there these colors and what have you? So look at the different colors and the imagery. African culture has got a vast number of motifs and symbolisms and so on. So look at these types of things, you know, different rock art figure paintings have been expanded into a more culturally westernized way, if I can put it that way, to make it more accessible to you and I as modern day people. So, you know, just look at motifs, I should say, combination of that, icons. A lot of different cultures have different icons. Some icons are overlapping. Now, the study of icons is semiotics. So the combination of I always used to thought it was iconology, but it's not, it's semiotics. And that is the study of icons and symbols and so on. So if you would like to, just Google semiotics and you will see, or even if you can't remember the name or spelling, cultural symbols and meanings, you know, type it in and you will find an array of it, and then you can branch out and look for that. So, you know, use the skills that I was talking about earlier on for someone like Nkenzo and the image appeal team. Use your resources. We have them at our disposal. So, you know, I hope that will help you on the right track. Symbolism, patterns, colors, they're all universally transferable to a certain degree. Some of them can overlap, some of them won't overlap. So just look at it. You know, you'll come right. You'll come right, definitely. Thank you, user 664145.
Well, user 664 can cut it short. I'll call you that. I hope that was mind-blowing for you. And without wasting time, Image Appeal family, after that very lovely long session, we're gonna jump right into our game, like how we usually do. Well, let me set that up for you. Give me a few. Are you ready, goodness. Andrew?
Yeah, I'm starting to get nervous.
Well, thing is, I also don't know the answers myself.
Oh, so we both be nervous together. All right.
I'll be playing along with you. Let me do this. Can you
Okay.
give me a few?
So if we get it wrong, who do we blame?
Pretty much, I would say, let's do this. Can you say it?
Okay, can we increase it a little bit
Let me do this. Oh,
to occupy a little bit more of the screen?
Let me do this. Can you give me a sec? Let me shift a few tabs. Where do we increase it? I'm looking for it.
Okay, the image on the right, the smaller right, you can't see there.
Image on the
Oh,
right.
yeah, and I don't
Top
even have my
right,
spectacles
end
with me.
view. Let's see, end slideshow. Show taskbar, display settings. Well, pretty much I don't know how to zoom in into this one.
Okay. What's
Okay.
there's a little magnifying glass there next to it. What is that?
Okay, yeah. Let's try using that one. I think this game is giving answers out. So
Okay, let's
imagine
try.
I just made it worse.
All right.
So with that being said,
There. That's
ima-
I can read.
okay, let's do this.
Yeah.
No, back before
Yeah.
you see the answers. Well, let's just head on and continue. Well, for this game, it's called Colors in Cultures Around the World. The shades of this rainbow colors. What's this? The shades of the rainbow
shades.
color our world, history, and emotions. Do you know what different colors mean across the globe? Take the quiz to find out.
Okay.
So, about to
Take
check
the
the
quiz.
quiz. Let's jump in. Okay, here's our first question. Right, let me look for some way I could write the points for you down. I don't know what it's over about, but then let me just take the points down. So the question says, what color is mostly associated with calmness and tranquility?
Blue.
Blue. Let's see. On our next answer is it correct? Well, that's blue. 2, meaning that's 1 for you.
There
How
we
did you
go.
know that? Be honest.
No. It is the symbolism of tranquility. The Indian culture use it extensively to represent tranquility. So yes, it was known. So yes, I'll take that one.
Okay, this was the question number 2. Okay, yes, the answer. I think it's fair enough like this.
Yeah.
Well, let's jump to the next one, right? The second question goes like, some colors are associated with historical significance. Which one has historically served as a symbol for metrologium, courage, and sacrifice?
Oh, this is a toughie, but I would have to go with wow, this one is a tough one because in certain cultures, you know, red is a symbolism of blood and death. So obviously you could go for the sacrifice. And if you look at the early Britannic symbolism for martyrdom, courage, and sacrifice, then you would probably look at the white side of things. But I'm probably going to go with red. I'm probably going to go with red. Yeah.
Let's find out. Do you want to change?
No. Yeah, I think so. I think in this context.
True, it's red. You're correct. How many points do you have so far? 2. Oh, you're counting. I was just checking. So let's move to the next one.
Hey man, it's the only time I get to win. I'm gonna win. I'm gonna win.
So this is our third question, and it goes like, Flock is it's full of colorful characters. Which color is associated with deceitful? What's that?
Trickster.
Tricksters in international mythology.
I'd go with the pink.
Are you sure?
Reason being, yeah, I'd go with the pink. If you look at folklore and you look at mythology and those types of things, in the early days when the kings used to have their courts of appeal and what have you, they would always have a jester. I'm not sure if you're familiar what a jester is.
No, I'm not.
It's almost like a clown. It's almost like a clown.
Oh, okay, I see,
Yeah,
I see.
and he's full of tricks, and he runs around and he makes a mockery, and relatively he's the only one who can mock the king, for example, without getting beheaded. So I think the color would probably lend more to pink. So I'd go with pink.
So as a form of entertainment in a way, and you say you go for pink.
Yeah.
Do you have second thoughts? Should we change?
No, I'm gonna go with the pink. I'm gonna go with the pink.
Okay, let's see the answers, guys. Image Appeal family, don't forget to actually write down your answers too, and be honest. In the end of the game, you also write down your points too with us along. So let's jump to the fourth one. Oh, it's green as an answer. It's green. It's green.
I got that one wrong.
At least I got one now from my side.
Yeah, no, that's good. Now this is interesting because yeah, I see, in Old Irish, okay, because most of the time green is associated with nature, and I could have at least thought a little bit deeper into that, into the nature and mythical characters and toadstools and leprechauns, and I think I could have got it right, but yeah, no excuses.
Yeah. Let's jump to is it the fifth one? Yeah, I think it's the fifth one, right? So let's jump to it. Let's see. What is our question? It's the fourth one. Oh, it's the fourth one. Okay. Is it? Oh, it is. It goes like, colors often represent how we feel. Which colors evoke feelings of hope?
Of hope.
Like which combination actually evokes feelings of hope? So wherever you are, dear audience, family.
I'd go with the pink again.
Pink and the pink and white.
Yeah, I think if I recall, in not Indian cultures, but Indonesian cultures, perhaps.
True.
Yeah, I think I would go with the pink and white. I feel a little bit more. Yeah. Okay. Let's try.
Do you want to take a chance and change your answer?
No. Let's go with the pink and white.
Okay. Let's see.
Oh, baby.
Well, it's yellow and green.
I made the same mistake with the green last time, eh? Oh,
true.
I feel I'm getting bamboozled here. It's kind of like a rock, paper, scissors, eh?
Yeah, type of feeling. So, well, this explains, yellow and green explain like this. Two colors often make us feel optimistic. In Northern America, we see families decorate with yellow ribbons to keep hope alive for their loved ones. At war, meaning it was used during the war times.
Yes.
Right.
Now that's quite right. This is funny because I'm familiar with the North American, especially on the Native American side of things, because they adorned yellow as a symbol of hope. And obviously green for fertility and the natural ways that the land produced for them and what have you. So I understand, and you can see the sense in that. And just to not to you know, my mistakes were my mistakes, but you know, the cultural differences in colors in certain aspects, and that from my point of view, and that's why I went with the pink and white, because in some of the Indonesian, Polynesian side of things, because it is a soft and white represents the purity. You know, you would, for me at least, I would associate that yellow would be white, and the pinks specifically for them would promote that cleanliness and hope and optimism, as well as the pink. So, you know, just this is a lovely game. Well done, because this will give our viewers an idea that there is an overlap between the colors and cultural symbols. So some of them are culturally overlappable, if I could use that as a term. I don't even know if it's a word, but anyway, I'm going to use it. Can overlap in some form or fashion, and some are traditionally well opposed, you know. And if you look at the yin and yang between black and white, man, you couldn't get any further apart in terms of a visual representation. But some nations will describe black as nobility and so on and so on, and others would see it as death and sorrow and mourning and so on. So yeah, it's a lovely representation.
True. Let's jump on the next one, which is our fifth question. I hope you're still following up Image of Pure Family. Let's see what we have.
Yes.
Okay, this is the fifth question, and we still have the double color combo question answers, right? And it goes like, the question goes like, in the Western cultures, black is the color of mourning. Okay, which colors are associated with death in non-European cultures? The bit tricky.
Oh, hey. Now, obviously, I know that in non-European cultures, especially in the African cultures, and you'll know, black and red. So where do we go? Where do we go, Kenzo?
Oh, well, let's see. Pretty much, there's a hard one.
I'm going to give this one to you. You make the choice. Come on.
So this should we count this as a point if you get it?
No, let's look at it as a combined point.
Okay, let's do it. I'll take black and.
Okay, I'm fair. If you get it, then you can take the point.
Okay, fair enough. Well, I'll go with black and red. I'll go with what I know, just to be safe, right? Let's jump on and see the answer if it's correct. I'm very nervous, hey. Let's see. Purple and white. Wow. Well, let's read through Image of Pure Family to hear why they're saying it's purple and white. Well, in many cultures, purple is the color of death for mourning, of mourning. Wow.
Yeah.
That windows or mourning. That windows
wear.
Sorry,
Thai widows would wear purple as to devote Catholic mourners in, or as to do for devout Catholic mourners in Brazil. In Eastern cultures, quite often references death and the supernatural. And in some cultures, white represents clarity, virginity, and cleanliness. Cleanliness isn't the word I was looking for, but sterile.
Yeah, true.
So,
that was a bit tricky.
So we lost that one, purple and white. Okay.
True, let's jump to the next one.
I see that now when I see the representation in front of me, because purple is a royal color. Okay. So if you're looking at the Anglo-Saxons and that type of area, in early Britain before the Nordics invaded and so on, or should I say afterwards, you know, kings and royalty were adorned in purple. So look at your own banner and see purple is the color of royalty.
Well, with that being said, we're jumping on to our sixth question. I guess. Let's see. And we're almost approaching the end of the game.
Yes.
Okay, this is our sixth. I think it's our sixth and last. Could be our last. Not sure. Well, basically now it's science as answers. Well, let's
Okay.
read through the question. In the New York Stock Exchange, red numbers indicate loss. In the Eastern Asian stock market, red represents. Okay. Wow, I don't know what this is.
A rise in stock prices, a drop. Oh, we need
A rise in
some
stock
we
prices,
need
a
some help
drop.
from our economists
Comment
out
section.
the panel.
Well,
In the
can you
East
guess?
Asian
Just
stock market, red symbolizes. Let's have a look at what Asians would.
I think. Oh, you don't know the answer. Should I jump it? You don't want to guess.
I think it's. I would have to know a little bit more about economics to be able to tell you.
Answer the
But
sun. Choose.
let's hazard a guess, and let's say red would symbolize either flatline stock prices or a rise in stock prices. So
Okay,
let's go with the
see.
rise. Let's go with the rise in stock price.
Well, let's see our answer, guys. Are you still with me, Major Pro family? A rise in stock prices.
Yeah. So
Why did you choose that one?
No, I used my skills of basic just understanding and possibly analytics, weighing up options, seeing what the right analyzing question. And yeah, now you know how I passed my multiple choices at school.
That's great. Let's see our next one. Is it our last question? Oh, we're reaching the end. Okay, it's our last question, which is the seventh one. Well, just for an update, right? You are having 3 points, and now we're going to our seventh question. And for you to consider this as a pass, or to consider this game as a win, I would say you need to actually beat the half ranking of it. So without waste of time, we still have like 2 color combos again, and the question goes like, colors have held important roles throughout history. 2, for example, both the Western and the Eastern have had different colors to represent royalty. What are they? I think you said something about royalty earlier on.
Yes, but then again, you know, there's a difference between the West and the East, and I would have to guess that we probably, in this case, yeah, you're also a tough one, but purple and green. I would go with purple and green.
Purple and green, which is our first one. Let's see if the answer is correct,
Either
guys.
Either that one or the blue and red. But
which one do you take?
Let's go with the, oh no, hold on. Yeah, okay. Let's go with the blue and the red.
The blue and the red. Okay.
Yes.
Let's see, Major P family, if that's correct. It's purple and yellow. Wow. Okay. Let's find out.
I failed dismally.
Well, let's find out the history behind it. Well, yellow has a long royal history in China, and the first Imperia was known as the Yellow Imperia. And for a long while, the Imperia was the only person allowed to wear the color. Interesting. To this day, a yellow carpet is rolled out to welcome distinguished guests of China's events. Meanwhile, throughout the Western history, purple was the color mostly closely associated with royalty.
Yeah, that was a bad error, because I know that purple is the royalty side, and I just got conflicted there. But yeah.
Fair enough. Let's see if this is the end or we have another question. Well, have another question. How many questions do we have? Well, I think this is the end because I see the bar is approaching. Okay, our 8 questions, right? It goes like, humans have always associated meaning with colors. Looking back to ancient history, which color did the Egyptian associate with life?
Probably green or yellow. I would hazard a guess to say, oh, I'm leaning towards the green, but the yellow is a strong possibility. So, but let's go with the widely accepted view on life and nature is green. But I'm going to go for the wild card. Let's go for yellow. I think that yellow.
So
is
we're choosing yellow.
Yeah, considering the goals and potentially, that I would probably say that yellow would be the right answer.
Oh, okay. Let's see. Well, it's black.
You can't win, eh?
With that being said, let's read the history. Well, the rich and black soul of the, the Nila River caused ancient Egyptians to positively associate the color black with life. It was also the color of their god, Antipish. I hope I'm saying it well. A black jackal who offered the dead protection.
Okay.
Yeah. That's nice.
Interesting.
Interesting. I hope you guys are also learning out there. Let's jump to the next one, which is gonna be.
I'm definitely learning. Yeah, I'm definitely learning something again.
That makes the both of us. That makes the both of us. Cause wow, I never expected this. Well, big ups to the team that designed this game. Let's jump to the next one. Our 9th question. Well, it goes like, think fast. What color does human eye notice first?
Red.
Are you sure? Should I change?
Yeah, red or yellow.
Okay. Red. Okay, still going with red. Well, it's yellow. Yellow is the most color visible on the spectrum.
Yeah.
Let's jump to the next one, which is gonna be our 10th question. Well, as the question goes like, finally, some colors have taken a fresh, new meaning. Which color has recently become a symbol for the LGBTQ plus community?
Oh. Purple.
Let's find out. Great, purple. What made you go with purple?
The advertising is in your face all the time.
Oh, the advertising is in your face all the time. Let's see if that was our last. Well, I'm glad that was our last question. And how many points do you have, if you remember?
I think 4. 4 plus, 3 or 4.
Yeah, 2. It is actually 4 points.
Yes.
And that's not bad. Hey, if you think about it, out of 10, you got 4. That's like pretty much the pass line, the mark line.
Starting to sound like my school maths points.
Something like that. Well, Image Appeal family, I hope you actually enjoyed that game that we actually had for you out there. Well, pretty much now we have prepared a special segment for our special speaker, Andrew S. At this moment, we will want to know more about the background of our guest speaker and everything about him. Andrew S., the floor is yours now.
Kenzo, it's I'm 53 years old. I was born in Africa, so I'm an African at heart, and not only South Africa. I was born in Zambia, which is pretty much in the middle of Africa, a white man and born in deep, darkest Africa. moved down here into South Africa early on in my career. So, you know, I pretty much started my formative years up on this side of the world in South Africa. And, you know, I've always developed a passion for just being, you know, I'm a stubborn guy, you know, and it's always my way. And I'm always out to back the little man, you know. So if we were to be representing our country in a sport, just for pure excitement, I would back the foreigners, you know, and it kind of like stirs an excitement in me, and stirs an excitement in the fans next to me or my friends or whatever, because they know Andrew's going to do something strange. So, but in terms of who I am now, has been forged from when I was small. I have a farming background. Family members have been farming. So one of my biggest passions now is farming as well. So I run a fully operational farm during the day, and spend the rest of my days doing what we're doing now, and designing and exploring the passions for both fields. I live pretty much in a rural part of South Africa, so you know it helps me to get back to roots, nature. I love it. I was a city boy. I applied my trade in the city, and it served me well. It afforded me a lot of opportunities to be able to come out and live a self-sustainable life. So I'm really, you know, we had a discussion earlier on in the weekends about, you know, self-sustainability, and what it means to the soul and mind, and the open vision that it will give you if you just take a breather sometimes. So, you know, I enjoy that. I've been doing graphic design pretty much solidly, in between here and there, in various forms, taking it slower or ramping it up, since 1989. I've been doing it on my own. I've been fortunate to, in the early days, when computers were not accessible, I applied my trade as a graphic designer, or learning the art of graphic design. And when I came out, computers had just hit the market, and there was no real skills for us designers, you know, unless you were a good cartoonist or a copywriter or an illustrator or something like that. So digital art was my thing. So I quickly bought a PC, all self-taught, and got involved in that. Self-taught on the PC, the programs and what have you. And the only formal PC training I had was I did an Apple Macintosh course, a registered Apple Macintosh course for a year. That was after, because once I realized that I couldn't get work as a freelancer sitting in my own office, I had to go out and look. And believe it or not, a lot of the design agencies, when I got in there, and I'm talking design agencies, you'd get in there, there's a row of computers standing there, and they didn't have anybody that could operate them. They had the money to buy them, but, you know, we're talking early days now in the graphic design industry, especially in South Africa. Now, this might sound strange for some of our first world brothers out there and sisters that are in America, where, you know, by then they were already fully on board and what have you, but no operators. So I designed on Apple Mac for a long time, and that's where I learned my trade and got the contacts, and I managed to do some great work. Worked on some top brands, from hair care products to motor oil, to I freelanced for 3 magazines. One was actually a well-published Afrikaans magazine called The Cut, and a direct translation would mean The Cat. It was a female magazine specifically directed at 25, 26 upwards to 35 bracket, fashion orientated. Also, they didn't have operators to operate the PCs. So I had, literally 3 or 4 months there, every day, full day, as a freelance designer, operating and working on designs for the magazine, designed for 2 biker motorsport magazines. Top 40, I think you might be a little bit too young to remember a music magazine that we had in this country called Top 40 magazine. It was the only real magazine that South Africans had as an insight into the music industry. I designed on there.
Quite interesting.
Signage design was probably the next big influencer in my life, because once again, I was a freelancer and I was looking for work, and I had to think of out-the-box things, and everybody was trying to punt and get work from the design agencies. So I hooked up with the architects. Believe it or not, I didn't think it was going to work, but it worked wonderfully. I hooked up with the architects because they were the guys that were linked to the construction companies, and the construction companies were linked to the signage companies who were building the signs. So the architects would reference me to the designers as a designer to be able to design specifically orientated, custom-made internal and external signages for companies. So I did that, and that has probably been, I love it. It's probably been my major contribution to the graphic design world, is the combination of signage design into computer graphics, and then obviously a multitude of things in between. Hair care products, removal companies, motor oil companies, detox companies, and forging great alliances with certain companies. I've got 1 or 2 companies that I still do work for today, and when they need my expertise, they don't care how long they're going to wait. They wait for me, and I've had them for 15 years plus.
Wow.
Anything, they don't question me, they just say, hey. And I've been so in touch with them that they say, right, I'm bringing out a new detox. This is the headline. It's in affiliation with the last one you did here. Yeah, that's it. Go ahead, design the 15-page booklet, the email promotions, the works. And 99.999% of the time, it goes to the CEO. He looks at it, he says, change that word, change that one, done deal. They don't question anymore. So those types of alliances, people want to build is important. So it's been good for me. And wow, designing across the board, Kenzo. I have a lot of passions, and the quest for knowledge is continually there. So, I try and incorporate everything into it. And I hope to carry on and lend some experience on advertising topics to future customers, to future suppliers, to future people that are interested in gaining my insights. Hopefully I could lend a hand. Hopefully we can collaborate at some particular point in time with various people on the platforms. So yeah, as a general thing, I have two mottos: loyalty above all else. That's my single mantra. Without loyalty, nothing else is going to fall in place. So, you just keep striving for loyalty. The love will come, the wealth will come, the enlightenment will come, because it is a firm and solid. Now, people might disagree with me, but for me, it's a solid base. If you're loyal, man, you can be assured that you will love with all your heart, you will trust with all your heart, you will, so for me, it's important. And generally, I love life. That's it.
True. Live in the
Hopefully
moment.
Hopefully I've inspired somebody today.
Most definitely. And it was such a lovely session to have with you. It was great and mind-blowing. And you could see from the questions that we were getting today, I mean, people were really invested, and we didn't even notice that time was flying fast by. But then, with that being said, let me jump into the next and final segment.
Yes.
Now it's actually that time, Image Appeal family and other viewers out there. Let's get to know more about Image Appeal. Well, if you need unique branding, logo identity, social media, web, or any specific print, digital marketing design, we can help. Image Appeal is an integrated design agency, and we specialize in almost all arena of graphic design. We are operated by learning, educating, innovating, creating, and thus delivering output. A fast-growing agency with a talented creative team. Our style is to keep up with the constantly shifting and changing norms of the dynamic industry. We admire people who do business, launch projects, create, trade, and produce. Image Appeal will help you to create an aesthetic, intelligent, unique, and practical design, specially tailored to your business. Providing exclusive graphic designs for corporate and startup businesses, developing awareness and consistent recognition, ensuring to bring your ideas to life with unique design solutions, communicating it effectively to stand out in the marketplace. We are reliable in managing projects with high priority and meeting deadlines. You will have guaranteed quality service and efficient design process from the beginning to the end. Above all, we specialize in creating exclusive, modern, clean, and minimal design styles for any business industry. Connect with us and we'll help you to solve your business challenges using design instruments. Please visit our platform and discover our previous work at www.imageappeal.com and follow our social media accounts. With that being said, there we have it, guys. I hope you had fun with us, especially you, Andreas.
Hey, man, it was lovely. I enjoyed it. I really, really did. It was good fun.
It is such a great experience to have you with us here at this event. And thank you everyone for listening once again. I am your host, Kenzo Gifter-Senga, and at this event, I hope you learned something new, exciting, and we hope you enjoyed our deep dive. Stay tuned in for our next event coming up next month. Thank you and goodbye.
Thank you.